Want some of this new Cool Whip topping?
Later, Pyle. I'm getting in shape in case our Cool Whip contest.
There are some stories we just don't hear enough about. Frank Sutton's journey, for example, is one that many of us remember for his unforgettable role as Sergeant Carter on Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. But what about the man behind that character? For years, we saw him shout and yell on screen, but behind those commanding lines, there was a much deeper story. Frank Sutton, a man of discipline and depth, had his own quiet struggles that often went unnoticed. He was more than just the loud drill sergeant. He was a dedicated actor with dreams that stretched beyond the role that made him famous. His career, full of sacrifice and unspoken challenges, is something we can all connect with, especially as we reflect on how even the most iconic characters come with their own personal costs. Frank's story isn't just about the laughter he gave us. It's about the parts of him that he never got to fully share. How has Frank Sutton inspired you? Share your thoughts below, and let's remember his incredible journey together. Before Frank Sutton became famous for his role as Sergeant Carter, he had already built a foundation in acting that was far from the world of sitcoms. He wasn't known for comedy at all. Instead, he was respected for his dramatic roles, having starred in films and TV shows that required a deep emotional range. Sutton had studied drama at Columbia University and was trained in theater, where he learned to give every performance his all. His acting wasn't about making people laugh. It was about creating something real and meaningful. But when Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. came into his life in 1964, it marked a huge shift. He went from the serious world of dramatic television and theater to the bright, exaggerated world of sitcom comedy. It was a big change, but Sutton didn't just take the role lightly. He dove in with the same discipline and focus he had brought to all his previous work. Even though his character was known for loud, over-the-top comedy, Sutton approached the role with careful precision. He made sure that every scene was done right, using his background in theater to bring depth to a character that, on the surface, seemed like just a typical drill sergeant. Sutton's background made him more than just a funny face on a sitcom. He brought a depth to Sergeant Carter that many viewers didn't even realize. His ability to make this character stand out was rooted in his serious training, even if it meant sacrificing some of his personal desires along the way. When Frank Sutton stepped into the shoes of Sergeant Vince Carter, he wasn't just playing a character. He was pouring his own life experience into every scene. To most viewers, Sergeant Carter was a loud, demanding drill sergeant, always yelling and pushing Gomer Pyle to the limit. But what people didn't see was the effort and emotional weight Sutton carried to make that character real. His portrayal was more than just a comedic performance. It was a deeply disciplined role that required him to project his voice, move with purpose, and exude authority with every line. But over time, the role started to feel like a double-edged sword. Sutton, a man who had a deep passion for dramatic acting, found himself stuck in a cycle of shouting and gruffness, unable to explore the broader range of emotions he longed to show. As the show progressed, Sutton became frustrated with how little his character evolved. While Gomer's character was allowed moments of growth and emotional depth, Sergeant Carter was confined to the same routine, shouting, reprimanding, and occasionally softening. Sutton wanted more. He wanted to show the vulnerability, the humanity, behind the tough exterior of Sergeant Carter. But the show's formula just wouldn't allow it. This creative frustration wasn't something Sutton often expressed publicly. He was a professional through and through. Yet, quietly, behind the scenes, there was a part of him that felt trapped in the very role that had made him a household name. He had dreams of more, of playing different characters, but it seemed like his fame was a double-edged sword. The more successful the show became, the harder it was to escape the box he had been put in. While Frank Sutton's chemistry with Jim Nabors on screen was the heart of Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C., their off-screen relationship was a bit more complicated. On camera, their contrasting personalities, Sutton's gruff, high-strung Sergeant Carter and Nabors' gentle, good-natured Gomer, created a perfect balance of comedy and heart. But in real life, their working styles didn't always mesh as smoothly. Sutton, trained in the disciplined world of theater, was all about precision and structure. He took his craft seriously, always prepared, and expected the same level of dedication from those around him. Neighbors, on the other hand, had a more laid-back, instinctive approach, relying on his natural charisma and improvisation to bring Gomer to life. This contrast didn't cause open conflict, but it created subtle tension on set. Sutton's need for order and perfection sometimes clashed with Neighbors' more relaxed style. When the show called for quick changes or improvised moments, Sutton would often suggest retakes or adjustments, not because he was dissatisfied with Neighbors, but because he believed in giving the best possible performance, even in a sitcom. Their differences were never personal, but they were there, quietly affecting the dynamic of their working relationship. Even though they weren't the best of friends off camera, there was mutual respect between Sutton and Neighbors. Sutton admired Neighbors' ability to make people laugh effortlessly, while Neighbors appreciated Sutton's professionalism. It wasn't a deep friendship, but their on-screen partnership worked because of this unspoken understanding. The quiet tension between them added a layer of complexity to their relationship, making their on-screen magic all the more impressive. Frank Sutton's legacy isn't just about his role as Sergeant Carter. It's about the dedication, professionalism, and quiet struggle he endured to make that character unforgettable. For years after Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. ended, his work was overshadowed by bigger TV legends and new trends in television. But as time passed, the true value of Sutton's contributions started to shine through. His portrayal of Sergeant Carter was more than just comedy. It was a well-crafted, deeply human character that resonated with audiences far beyond the laughter. He gave his all to the role, even if it meant sacrificing the chance to grow as an actor in other directions. In 2025, when Gomer Pyle was pulled from MeTV's prime lineup, fans of the show were shocked and upset. But this moment sparked a resurgence of interest in Sutton's work. People began to remember just how much his performance had shaped the show and how much of an impact it had on the audience. The online fanbase flooded social media with posts, quotes, and memories, reminding everyone why Frank Sutton's portrayal of Sergeant Carter still mattered. It wasn't just about nostalgia. It was about the depth and authenticity he brought to a character that so many had grown to love. Frank Sutton may not have received the same recognition as some of his peers, but his legacy lives on in the hearts of those who remember the true value of his work. His commitment to his craft, his ability to make us laugh while also making us feel, and his quiet desire to evolve as an artist make him a timeless figure in television history. Sutton's story reminds us that true artistry isn't always about awards or fame. It's about the dedication to your work, no matter the challenges. Frank Sutton's journey in Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. was one of dedication, sacrifice, and quiet frustration. While he gave everything to his role as Sergeant Carter, his true legacy is found in the way he approached his craft, with discipline, passion, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Though his character was often confined to loud shouts and predictable routines, Sutton's own artistic aspirations and personal struggles painted a much richer picture of who he truly was. His story is a reminder that sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the loudest voices, but those who work tirelessly behind the scenes. What can we learn from Frank Sutton's journey? Perhaps it's the value of dedication, even when faced with limitations. Maybe it's the lesson that sometimes the quietest struggles are the most powerful, and that true success isn't always measured in fame or recognition. Sutton's story is one of perseverance and passion, and it's one that continues to inspire. If Frank Sutton's story moved you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What part of his journey inspired you the most? We'd love to hear from you.